Hello and welcome. You've found the Social Work Podcast. My name's Jonathan Singer, and I'll be your host as we explore all things social work. Today's podcast is on salary negotiation. When I was graduating with my MSW, my classmates and I talked about what jobs we were going to get and what salaries those jobs paid. The jobs that paid more always seemed to be more attractive. There was something about a higher-paying job that, even if I wasn't particularly interested in that population or that type of treatment, it was something that I thought, well, maybe I should go for that job because it pays more. When I think back about my MSW education, there was only one professor that ever talked to me about salaries. It was a community organizing professor, and in class one day, he simply said, anybody that gets a job that pays less than $25,000 a year will have me to answer to. So I didn't actually realize that I could negotiate my salary. And it's possible that even if I had negotiated my salary, I wouldn't have gotten a higher income, but I might have been able to get more benefits, more vacation time, other things that led into my total compensation package. What's true is that my starting salary was $23,600, and that was as a bilingual master's level social worker. In 2001, the median salary of a social worker with 2 to 4 years experience was $35,600. And today's figures are slightly higher, somewhere around $40,000 a year. Well, in today's podcast, I talk with Dr. Cynthia Conley about this very topic of salary negotiation. Dr. Conley is Assistant Professor of Social Work at the School of Social Administration at Temple University. Her research interests include salary negotiation, the income gap between women and men social workers, and leadership skills and social work students. In today's podcast, Cynthia and I talk about why negotiating salaries is important. She gives some case examples, times when students of hers had successfully negotiated salaries. We talk about the role of salary negotiation and the place of salary negotiation in social work education. And we end our conversation with a brief discussion about some research that she's doing with her colleagues at Louisville, Kentucky, and some of the skills that social workers can use to negotiate salaries. Now, this isn't a skills podcast, and Cynthia agreed to come back and do another podcast entirely devoted to salary negotiation, so we have that to look forward to. For now, we'll just listen to my conversation with Dr. Cynthia Conley on salary negotiation. So first question, Cynthia, why is it important to talk about salary negotiation?
Well, first off, when both men and women negotiate their salaries, they earn more money. So it's important so that we can raise these salaries within the field of social work. People need to realize that if you settle for a lower salary without really negotiating your salary, you could potentially lose out on thousands of dollars from that same company or from that same organization because promotions are based on the salary that you achieved when you entered the company or the organization. So you are potentially minimizing your earning potential as a professional social worker if you don't engage in salary negotiation practices. And I'm sure that many times you hear that reasons for not going into social work is because they don't pay anything. They don't pay any money. So if men and women engage in negotiation practices, we are able to negotiate salaries. Furthermore, which has been documented over the past 3.5, 4 decades, there has been an income disparity between men and women social workers based solely on gender. So even when researchers have controlled for age, education levels, years of practice, specialization, we're finding that an income gap exists between men and women social workers. And when women engage in negotiation, salary negotiation, and in some of the research that I've been conducting with colleagues from the University of Louisville, we have found that women are able to decrease the income gap in half between men and women social workers. So it's vitally important for us to negotiate our salaries at the table.
So salary negotiation is important to raise the pay level for the profession as a whole, and it's also important for closing the gender gap. But is it realistic to think that social workers can actually negotiate their salaries?
Sure. Yes. First off, we want to earn what we really feel that we are worth. And if you look at other fields, salary negotiation is persistent. It's even taught in the curriculum, such as the School of Business Administration. We are taught within our social work curriculum to advocate on behalf of our clients, but yet we don't really advocate for our own self when it comes to taking care of our own needs, which one is financial. Certainly there are some instances where salary negotiation, the process might be more fruitful as far as being able to obtain higher salaries. You can really look at anywhere from a 5 to 7% salary range when negotiating your salaries. If you know a position is paying $30,000, okay, you've got a range of 5 to 7% of that $30,000. So we're looking at anywhere from $28,500 to $32,500 in a range. There might be some places that have a smaller range, anywhere from 1 to 2%, certainly. But it still is negotiable, and it is still realistic. And it's just a matter of having those tools, those skills, in order to be able to go to the table and negotiate our salaries.
So, Cynthia, I'm thinking about a child welfare worker, for example, who might come into a position and be told, this is what you're going to get paid. Is there any room for somebody in that situation to negotiate?
Yeah, and that certainly is a difficult scenario when you are told that this is all I can offer, salary-wise, and take it or leave it. However, there is research that shows certainly that you can negotiate in other areas aside from your income, aside from your salary, such as additional health benefits, additional vacation time, possibly some educational reimbursement. All of these things are going to add up to really a better living wage. So it is absolutely possible that we can negotiate for other things that are going to increase our overall standard of living.
And it sounds like what you're talking about really is salary negotiation as more than just the dollar amount, but rather the total compensation package.
Yes, it is a total compensation package. You know, I certainly say, yes, there is room to negotiate for other perks aside from just your general income.
So do you have any examples of salary negotiation that's worked? And I only ask that because salary negotiation is not really something that anybody ever talks about.
A couple instances come to mind. I had one student who was actually working within the Department of Child Welfare, and she was applying for a management position, and she was certainly very intimidated and not confident in her negotiation skills. And I gave her some information and gave her some things to think about as far as the how-to of negotiation. And she says, well, I'm going to give it a try. She came back and she told me, she says, okay, I did the salary range and what they were willing to offer, and I went in with a range and I said, this is what I'm looking at. She negotiated for approximately a $12,000 higher income than what the position was paying, other management positions. So she told me that it really worked. Now, this is an extreme case, but she brought a great deal of skills and experience to the position that warranted the higher salary. And I had another student who came to me after a successful negotiation process in which the salary decision maker, the hiring agent, said, I appreciate, your willingness to negotiate and advocate for your own needs, particularly your financial needs. If you're not willing to do that for yourself, how good of an advocate and a negotiator are you going to be for your own clients? And that really drives home the point that, social workers need to really be good self-advocates. And, we need to really begin in increasing this kind of content, negotiation skills, including salary negotiation, into some of our social work curriculum.
So if salary negotiation is so important for social workers to do, and it's a manifestation of a social worker's ability to actually advocate, where in the curriculum do social workers typically get taught about salary negotiation?
Well, Jonathan, that's a great question, and I don't know that salary negotiation specifically is taught anywhere in our social work curriculum. I do know that I certainly hold forums and workshops and seminars on salary negotiation, of how to go out and negotiate your salary. What do you look for? What do you need to research in order for individuals to be successful in the salary negotiation process? I can certainly see it fitting within foundation year curriculum, because everybody needs to have that material to know how to negotiate your salaries and to advocate for your own financial self-interest. It really is nowhere right now in the social work curriculum, and certainly that's what I'm advocating for, is that salary negotiation has huge implications for social work education.
So if social workers are not getting this content in their programs, it's possible that they don't know what is possible during a negotiation. Can you talk a little bit about what negotiation skills look like?
Certainly. One of the first things that is needed is, first, you need to know that you go in with a salary range. Do not go in with one hard figure, okay? Because negotiation is a process in which both parties are going to agree. You want to have some level of agreement. This is going to give you a lot of room, okay, to work within if you have a range. Whereas if you go in with a figure, you have a higher possibility of being actually really removed from the applicant pool. So it's important to have a salary range. You have to do your homework. You have to do your research around this salary negotiation process. So what are similar positions paying? So you have to know, what is your current worth? You have to know what your current worth is. So with your years of experience, years of education, what is your current worth? What does that look like in comparison to somebody else? What are those positions paying? The other thing that you need to know is certainly your own living wage. And this is the best to do for a 12-month period, in which you need to know, what does it cost you to live? And this is something that you want to keep to yourself. And then you also want to really be able to determine, what is the best case scenario? What kind of dollar amount, what salary figure is going to make me want to jump out, of the bed and go to work in the morning? Many, certainly work with many social workers and students, say, well, how do you get this information? And there are multiple websites, internet sites out there that you can get information, such as pay scale, occupational labor. You can go to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. It's going to tell you what the occupational outlook is, certainly what the median salaries are. You can go out there and find the information that you need to have to be able to really have a successful salary negotiation process.
Now, I know that you've done your own research on salary negotiation, or salaries rather. What did you find in your research in terms of what average salaries were for social workers?
In a study of over 3,400 MSW graduates from a Midwestern university, we found that the median salary for women social workers, and this is MSW prepared social workers, was $41,000. The median salary for men social workers and MSW prepared from that same sample was $48,000.
Well, Cynthia, this has been really interesting, and I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us about salary negotiation. And, I was thinking it might be really helpful for listeners to actually be able to listen to a whole episode that's specifically devoted to salary negotiation skills. Is that something you'd be willing to come back to do?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That'd be fantastic. Yeah, very interested.
Great. Well, hey, thanks so much for being here. Really, really enjoyed it.
Thank you, Jonathan. I appreciate the opportunity. It's been fun.
I'm Jonathan Singer, and thanks for being with me today for another episode of the Social Work Podcast. If you missed an episode or have suggestions for future episodes, please visit socialworkpodcast.com. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit our online store at cafepress.com/swpodcast. To all the social workers out there, keep up the good work. We'll see you next time at the Social Work Podcast.